Won't you hear my plea? I need somebody, yeah, to listen to me. I beg you, brothers and sisters, I'm counting on you, yeah. Black babies in the womb, shackled and bound, chained by the caveman who keeps beauty down, smacked on the ass when they're squalling and wet. Heir to a spineless man who never forgets, never forgets that he's a prisoner. Can't you hear my plea? 'Cause I need somebody, Lord knows, to listen to me. I'm a stranger to my son who wonders why his daddy runs, yeah.
Welcome, peace and love. Welcome to the NAPPC podcast. I'm Brother Frank, and I'm with former political prisoner
Abdul Haq Islam.
Today's episode, we focus on celebration of our freedom fighters, also known as our political prisoners. Right? They always put it all on the line to advance their people for national liberation, the right for us to be self-determined. So today's discussion is about that. During the season, people make arrangements to cook, buy their children presents. They have people who they love coming from out of town, and you come together, you gather, you talk about good times, and you assess values, right? And political prisoners, freedom fighters, they exemplify values. They that high standard of living, to stand on principle, to understand that regardless of what, I'm going to do this because this is correct. And they pay the price for being right. And we're here to talk about that. What does that mean, right? When we come together, what we going to be talking about? How long are we going to spend a discussion on the top basketball players, the top entertainers, who makes the most money, who's doing what? Let's have some real discussion about who did as much as they could for our people. And because of that, they are incarcerated. Challenge your family to write to a political prisoner, to do something that's bigger than their personal self, right? People have these expectations on what they want to get provided with materially during this time of the season. But what about being provided with something morally, and our political prisoners represent that high standard of morals. Brother Abdul Haq Islam.
Yes, peace and love, black power. Like Brother Frank said, the season is coming up where people will be gathering together, and as activists, we say that memories and material related to our political prisoners, who have made sacrifices for us, it'd be good to include that, in our discussions. And, anyone that's having programs like Kwanzaa programs, for example, dealing with self-defense, dealing with self-determination, dealing with unity and principles like that, purpose, and those type of concepts, principles. It'd be good to include discussions and quotes and literature, like even books by political prisoners to talk about. Like Brother Frank was saying, we need to talk about some very, very relevant topics, and not just crazy stuff. So in that vein, I have a few comments made by political prisoners, to share with the folks, and you can find more of these. I got a select few here. You can find more of these by looking up political prisoner quotes. Also there's books by political prisoners, that contain great volumes of knowledge for our brothers and sisters. There's a statement right here by Brother Mumia Abu Jamal, who the state wanted to kill. One of his statements was that they would rather give him a Uzi than to give him a microphone, because talking about the power of communication, the power of talking, writing. You understand? Doing research to discover the truth. These are very, very powerful things, and the media is a very, very influential organ of the state. Just before we came on, WBAI had a program where they're talking about how right now the situation in Gaza, the U.S. media is putting out the propaganda that Israel is dealing in self-defense. So we say if somebody got a gun to your head, and demands that you give up your money, and then they're claiming that's an act of self-defense, that's the same thing that Israel is doing right now, twisting and throwing the truth into the garbage can. An occupying nation that takes people's land, and rips them of their resources, is not acting in self-defense when they kill people. That's an act of oppression, and it's a straight up armed robbery. So in that vein, there's a statement here. This is one by Mumia Abu Jamal talking about the media. The media itself is an arm of mega corporate power, feeds the fear industry, feeds the fear industry, so that people are primed and pumped to support wars on rumor, innuendo, legend, and lies. So
turn around, brother. No, turn around.
But this way,
yeah. Okay. Good. Good. Continue, brother. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Okay, sorry about that. I had to make a little adjustment there. So, we need to understand when we listen to the corporate accounts, the media and the corporate, share class interests, and that these are very, very rich people, so when they go to war, to steal people's resources and to kill people, they want to say they have a righteous cause. They don't want to just admit that, that it's criminality, So, we have to understand that they do a whole lot of work to control your minds, to occupy your minds. You understand what I'm saying? To form what your concepts are. So we have to be very, very independent in our thinking and and seek the truth. Because who wants to be a robot controlled by somebody else, programmed, and someone gives you something and calls it the truth and controls your thinking. So, we need to rise up against that. So this is what Brother Mumia was talking about when he talked about the media, also on propaganda. Imam Jamil, formerly known as H. Rap Brown, says, I seek truth over a lie. I seek justice over injustice. I seek righteousness over the rewards of evildoers. And I love Allah more than I love the state. So oftentimes the propaganda of the media will lead us to turn our heads and look the other way, and don't even pay any attention to the genocides and murders that are happening, for corporations and for illegitimate states, illegal states, that murder many women and children and innocent people. Right now, more than 20,000 innocent people have been murdered in Palestine. 60% of them children. So we're supposed, they want us to look the other way and don't even think about that. And to buy into the myth, that we are in the loving arms of the most generous, most kind, most God-fearing system that's ever existed on the face of this earth, when the truth is the exact opposite, and what the truth will do will make you rise up, you understand, and grab some power, make you become activists. Right now, the atrocities that are going on in Palestine have millions and millions of people all around the world, very, very upset, and all those people, they have the ability to put pens in their hands. You understand? They have the ability to go to typewriters, to get on microphones, to spread, real information, in spite of the power of the media. We have millions and millions of people who are very, very up in arms and very, very mobilized and motivated by what's really going on, because it's coming out. You can't hide the reality, forever, as much as you would like, as much as they would like to. They can't do that. So the truth is coming out, and like I said, this is a time of the year when it'll be very, very beneficial for us to share the thoughts and ideas of our political prisoners, with the society. Okay. Another quote by me: if they survive, today's children will inherit the world that our fathers and grandfathers have ravaged, where the seas are acid cesspools that the whales have fled, where rainforests are Indian memories never to return, and where human greed has plundered Mother Earth's innards and turned human genes into factories for profit. They will inherit a diminished planet where fresh water is increasingly rare and where fresh air is a commodity. We live in a world that fears and hates its young. How else can one explain the bequest of such a foul, polluted, and hollow inheritance? So what I say on that topic often is that to the people out there, if you don't become active, organized, on a mass level, a very, very powerful level, exercising the power of the people, none of you within the range of my voice will be alive, you understand, 15 years from now, So many of you will feel the touch of the 17,000 Fahrenheit blast of nuclear arms. You understand what I'm saying? So, if you want to live, you better do something to survive. I want to recite one of my short poems that I memorized and then get back to Frank.
Go ahead, brother.
All right. 30 seconds after corporate America destroyed all the oxygen on Earth, the multi-million Do Nothing Army led a long march to the doorknob, opened up the door, and felt the kiss of death by the 17,000 degree atomic blast. And it said, honey, I'm home.
All right.
That's one of my poems.
All right. Thank you, brother. You know, during when I look at what's going on right now in the world, and I look at this historic victory with the governor signing this reparation commission bill. I'm looking.
Oh, wait a minute, hold that thought. Remember, she
ahead,
did that because of the pressure from the people.
Absolutely.
Right on.
I'm thinking about what you gain when you fight. Right? People think that things cannot happen, or they just say, that'll never happen, but they don't realize how it happened. It happened because people struggled for it. It happened because people organized for it. Political prisoners do come home, and they come home not because they just one day the state just said they're going to let them go. People organized, people fought. People like Nayaba Arande, she wrote articles on political prisoners, and at a celebration for her, Mumia had said something about her, and I think that says a lot about somebody who has the courage to stand up for what she knows is right. Because you could get backlash, you could get people saying things about you because of the position that you take. But a position must be taken, and if you expect to have any victories, any gains in life, you have to be prepared to fight. You have to be prepared to commit yourself to that struggle. And I think that when we look at what's going on in Palestine and the fact that the Palestinians, they're suffering a lot, but they know the value of land, so they're not giving up. We, as people of African descent, we know our fight with the signing of this bill, this reparation bill. Much thanks to December 12th movement and Charles Barron for that work. We realize that yes, gains are going to be made because a fight was fought. So we bring that up to let you know that when we come on this platform and talk about political prisoners, it's serious work. It's serious commitment, and its dedication is understanding the importance of a commitment, right? Because there's a science in fighting. You have to know why you're fighting. You have to know how to fight. You have to know that you have to have stamina. Stamina is very important because not every fight is going to be fast. Some fights are going to be longer than others. And you got to prepare yourself to engage for the duration of the fight, because the objective is to gain what you have your eye on. Right? We say we want our political prisoners not to die in prison. So we do as much as we can. We put out a podcast. We encourage people to share. We encourage others to write to political prisoners and build that relationship. Let them know that they're not forgotten, that, we recognize them as being real. And when we look at ourselves and ask ourselves, what do we stand for? Then we look at a political prisoner and look at what they stand for. Then we say, wow, we have to do as much as they have done or more, right? And that's the importance and value of political prisoners. And that's why when Kwanzaa's right around the corner, when we celebrate those principles of Kwanzaa, political prisoners must be included. We must talk about them and our history, right? We must talk about how we need to show respect for our freedom fighters, our political prisoners. And I watched the news conference on this historical signing of this bill, and they talked about John Brown. So even in that press conference, they had to deal with a freedom fighter, a political prisoner, John Brown. And I think that more the more we study history, the more we'll unravel and identify more political prisoners and freedom fighters that need to be recognized, that should be talked about in schools. So, Brother Abdul Islam,
Yes, sir, brother.
you know, what does what did you get from that the governor signing this bill, and how can people get encouragement from that?
Well, like you said, what I got from that is that that was a result of people's struggle. Um, the system likes to perpetuate the illusion that they have godlike power. And there's nothing that the people can do. And sometimes people feel that they have no power. But when you think, you become conscious of the force that millions of people have, you understand, then that makes you realize that there is things that we can do, for our benefit. Reparations, that involves trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars, and ain't no way that the state wants to give that up. So even though that bill was signed, that's not the end of it. We can't sit back and cross our legs and think that by some magic stroke of the pen, that great wealth, that we need to be very, very conscious of that great wealth as people of the value ourselves. We have to value, you understand, that which our unpaid labor produced. The backbreaking labor, that we were subjected to, and we must take ownership in our hearts and minds of that wealth, and feel, a reward of the victory, of a partial victory. But also we must understand that we must continue to fight. We must fight on. This is a system, that just doesn't lay over and do what you wanted to do just because you politely ask it to. People of worth, people who value themselves, people who are not cowards. When someone robs and steals from them, they fight to get theirs back. So I say right on to that, and I tell the people to continue to fight and to continue communicating. Communication. I want to quote one more thing about Brother Mumia. He said, "I was punished for communicating." So that makes us understand the power of educating ourselves, of seeking the truth and speaking the truth in a very, very powerful way that affects people. So this is send us to our books, send us to our resources, send us online, to seek real information. And on that, I wanted to drop a little advice about something about a program on there on the Equal Rights and Justice Show for December 20th, 2023, where they talked about the history of what went down in Palestine. Had a 3-hour documentary on it. So look that up. Talk about the history. 1948. Talk about all the violence that went down. The 50 villages that were destroyed. 350,000 people, violently removed from their land. You understand? But you never hear that historical context. When you listen to the robbers' media. So we should seek our truth independently and communicate that truth. And turn that truth into a fight for truth and justice.
Absolutely. You said it. You said it extremely correct and sharp when you said that about education. Right? We have to arm ourselves with being educated. When we look at Mumia and look at him being incarcerated for so long, and all the books that he wrote, he never just stopped writing. He kept adding more books to his resume, because he understood his role. Right, he was a journalist, and he took that role very seriously. And I'm always learning more about society, how it functions, and how capitalism functions. When I hear Mumia speak, because he talked about Marx and Engels talking about the state being the executive committee of the bourgeoisie, and that statement that he said made me think about how capitalism works and who is at what position of it and who is being exploited. And I think that that's very important because it's always a new generation that's coming into being, and the new generation has to be equipped with what is needed to protect itself. Right? You protect yourself, and then you start understanding that you have to fight back because at some point, you're going to be a victim because the system is always looking for ways to produce profit, and that comes through exploitation and oppression. And when Mumia is able to write those books, continue to inform and enlighten people, he's creating more soldiers because this is a war of ideas, and your idea is going to either move people forward or is going to move them backwards, and we don't want that. Right? Our children are watching, and their children are watching, and we have to stand on the side of what's correct, and we have to be ready, as like our freedom fighters who are incarcerated. We want to add captured freedom fighters. Um, we want them to know that your work does not go ignored. Right? We are doing this work because of you. We found inspiration because of you, and we're continuing to do this work. We're sharing it with as many people as possible, and we're encouraging those who listen to take some type of action around the idea of political prisoners. We say free Reverend Joy Power, freedom fighter. Never forget Ed Poindexter, freedom fighter.
Right.
Free Mumia, freedom fighter, and so many more, right? And it's gonna come through battle, but we got to keep waving that flag. We got to keep honoring those who made sacrifices for us. So encourage your children to write to a political prisoner during this time of the year when Kwanzaa comes up, and it's time to deal with that principle that deal with collective responsibility. Yes, it is our collective responsibility to address our freedom fighters, our captured freedom fighters, our political prisoners. We need to address that. We need to say, how do we deal with them? Send them a card for Kwanzaa. Write them a letter for Kwanzaa. Let them know that they are loved, they are appreciated, and you're doing what you can to raise awareness. Right? We got to continue to raise awareness. We got to hold those who are supposed to be accountable to us to speak on our behalf or advocate for ideas that we say should be addressed. One is captured freedom fighters, political prisoners, and make sure that you know they get an opportunity to come home and not die in prison. Because when I look at Ed Poindexter's situation and that brother going through so much that he went through, 52 years they got from him, no compassionate release, no nothing, and he was going through dialysis. He had his part of his leg amputated. His family had to go through all of that, and then still 52 years wasn't enough. Right? He could have been released to die with his family, but his family, we want to give you revolutionary condolences. We want to salute you. We want to let you know that you stood up and you set the standard on how people need to deal with their loved ones. Our political prisoners are loved ones, and we need to stand up and we need to act in accordance with what's correct. And that's why, as Northeast Political Prisoner Coalition continues to do this work, we're calling on people to get involved. We always provide our contact information.
Mhm.
We meet once a month. We would invite you to be a part of these meetings and to get involved in the actual work to free our political prisoners. Doesn't take a whole lot of time out your day to do this work. Our contact is made available. Come to our meeting. We like to hear from you about what you think as regarding the work we're fighting for political prisoners and the fact that why have so many people who stand for right principles, why they don't speak on political prisoners? You know, that's a serious question that we need to ask. Why are freedom fighters, our captured freedom fighters, ignored? And this is why we have to be continuous with this work. So, you know, we winding down with this episode. You know, we commit ourselves to half an hour every week. So, you know, I just want you to share this with as many people as you prepare yourself for the holidays. Tell those to share with others. Contact us. Let us know what you think about our podcast. Let us know what's your position when it comes to our captured freedom fighters, our political prisoners. What is your intentions on dealing with that? Or do you have any intentions on dealing with that? Because at some point or another, you're going to have to look at yourself and ask yourself, you know, what are you doing to stand up for our political prisoners?
Mhm.
Right? Because if you're not a part of the problem, you know, if you're not a part of the solution, then you're a part of the problem. There's no in between. So you have to be honest with yourself, and you need to tell those around you that they need to be honest with themselves as well. Because one day you're going to be in a position and you're going to need somebody to stand on your side and fight with you. And then, based on what you did in terms of creating a credibility for yourself, who knows how many people will side with you. I say that to say this. Our political prisoners need the best from us because they gave us their best. So our contact is made available. We're calling on others to join us with this work. Brother, your closing remarks, man?
Yeah, I'd like to say, Brother Frank just mentioned education, and education is very, very important. If people have a correct understanding, correct consciousness, and to know the truth from the reality. From the very first day in school, first grade, our kids are taught about George Washington never told a lie when he chopped down a cherry tree. But sometimes we don't find out until we're in college, and sometimes only through our own independent research that George Washington owned slaves. And when you pull out the dollar bill, his face is right there. So you receive operant conditioning several times a day. So we have to be in control of the information and the analysis that comes to us and it comes to our people, and the information about political prisoners needs to be in the curriculums in our schools, because we need to take community control of every institution in our community, which means being in control of the education in our schools, to demand that a correct understanding of the Black struggle be in our schools, the schools in our communities, and very, very prominent priority in that curriculum is who our political prisoners are, what they did, what they said, you understand, the contributions they made, and the value to us as a people in the society, So we say, what's the call? Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the call?
Free them all.
What's the